as I was walking down.
All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It's Thursday, Thirsty Thursday. For those of you who are thirsty, it is Thursday. That's right, people. Another new episode. We're on a roll this week. I'm not going to say it out loud, but we're going to do our best to sling a bunch at you if we can. Hope you loved Townes Van Zandt yesterday. Hope some of you listened to some of that music, because that is some good stuff there. And I was excited to talk about that. So what are we talking about today? A band we've never covered here in the cave. Think about that for a minute. Almost 1,300 episodes, and we have not covered this band. You know who it is because you saw the title. But is that incredible that we haven't covered this band yet? Hard to say. But we're going to fix it right now. We're talking about the band Chicago. That's right. We haven't covered Chicago. Formed in 1969 in, wait for it, Chicago. Think about that when you think about your favorite Chicago songs from the 80s. They were formed in 67. Sorry, their name was changed to Chicago in 69. Formed in 1967, called The Big Thing at first. Peter Cetera on bass, not singing a bunch, or maybe not even at all to start with. Robert Lamb on keyboards. He was singing a fair amount. And then they had a trumpet player, trombone player, drums, woodwinds. Over the years, almost 30 members over the years. One of the most successful American bands in history, right behind the Beach Boys. 40 million records sold, 23 gold, 18 platinum, 8 multi-platinum, 5 consecutive number one albums on the Billboard album chart, 10 Grammy nominations, won 1 in the 80s, Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Their first record came out in 1969, April of 69, when they changed their name from The Big Thing to Chicago Transit Authority, and it was called Chicago Transit Authority. A double album. Unusual double album for a debut. I'll have to look that up. Did anyone else put a double album out for their very first record? It went to number 17, sold 1 million copies. I think it went multi-platinum on the strength of a bunch of singles. Beginnings, Question 67 and 68, I'm a Man, and of course, Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? They got the Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in 1970. They lost to Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Who else lost that year? Led Zeppelin. They changed their name to Chicago because the actual Chicago Transit Authority was going to sue them for it, so they changed it just to Chicago to put out their second record, just called Chicago. And fans or whoever call it Chicago 2, but it wasn't called Chicago 2. It was called Chicago. Anyway, that had 2 top 10 singles on it, and it had that song 25 or 624, which is about writing the song at either 25 or 26 before 4 a.m. First top 5 hit, sung by Peter Cetera. You didn't know that. Chicago 3, another double LP, went to number 2, and they went on to put out 11 albums in 11 years, and they would just name them the next number. Chicago 1, Chicago 2, Chicago 3. There's no Chicago 4. There's no Chicago, I think there's no Chicago 6. 12 is called Hot Streets. There's no 15, but there are all these other ones. I don't know what to say about that. Chicago 5, I think it is, went to number 1 on the Billboard and Jazz album charts. And that had the song Saturday in the Park, which went to number 3. I think it was the 4th of July. Anyway, so that was the 70s for them. A record every single year, 11 and 11 years, throwing out all this music, touring. I mean, they were just a really big deal. We're not even going to touch on the 80s yet. I think I'm going to put out a part 2 at some point, but I'm not going to call it part 2. I'm going to call it part 4 and see what happens. But that's where we're going to park it. We'll get to Peter Cetera and we'll get to the 80s another time, because I'm not going to throw another 9 minutes at you. We're going to do about 5 minutes here. So early Chicago, 70s Chicago is where we're parking ourselves. Your songs of the day. We've got 2 of them. Saturday in the Park and Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? Those are the 2 songs we're going to play today. We're going to figure out the rest of Chicago later because it's a lot. And I know you guys are going to want to talk about the 80s Chicago. That's where your jam is. So maybe we'll throw that in quickly. Maybe we'll do an episode on that next week. But check these two out if you haven't listened to those in a while. That's your 70s music for today. Whatever you're doing today, I hope it involves music. And as usual, catch you.